Why do you seem so scared? All I wanted to do was play with you.
Welcome to Terror Tracks, hosted by best-selling horror author Jack Pierce. We publish new episodes every Monday at 2 a.m. EST. Go to terrortracks.com/shop if you would like to support the show, and follow us on social media at terrortracks.com/follow. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back, everyone. In this episode, we're going to review Are You Afraid of the Dark? The Tale of Dark Music. But before we get to that, we have to go back to Norcastle. And in this episode, we have just escaped the school, and we are going to our old hangout, the ice cream shop. Or is it ice cream shop? I know that's kind of corny, but yeah, so enjoy the story, and I will see you in a moment.
Chapter 8. Ice Cream Horror Shop. A taxicab drove by, and I yelled for it to stop. I ran, swung the door open, and dove inside. This mission was over. I was done. I didn't care if Chief fired me or what he said when I got back. I could find another job. I was near the end of my contract term anyway. This was it. I finally could go home and get some peace. The cab smelled like old dirty carpet, rubbing alcohol, and spoiled milk. I looked at the front of the cab and saw Larry. "Larry, thank God. Take me to the track station," I said. No reply. "Come on, Larry, I've had enough. Take me to the station now." No reply, but the car started to move. I sighed and rubbed my forehead. I thought about what I was going to tell the chief. Hell, I thought about quitting altogether. Larry didn't make the turn toward the train station. I panicked. "Hey, you're going the wrong way." The car sped up to 90 miles an hour. I jerked at the door handle and yelled, "Stop the car! Let me out!" The car sped up to 120 miles per hour. "Hey, what's your problem?" Larry turned around. It wasn't Larry anymore. It was him, that faceless demon. I couldn't believe it. "Why won't you just die?" I yelled, firing a shot into his head. It smiled at me and kept driving faster and faster. I kicked the door and it flew open. I jumped out, rolled along the ground. The asphalt felt like hot fire against my skin. It did quite a number on me. I stood up and checked myself. I was dirty, scraped up, but nothing seemed broken. The car continued speeding down the road. The demon looked back at me and smiled with his head turned backward. I stood to gauge my surroundings. Across the street was Ben's ice cream shop. I didn't have many memories of that place. All the people in town thought he was a pedophile, but he was never charged for it. Some people said he would put roofies in the milkshakes, then rape the kids. My parents rarely let me come here. When they did, I never ate the ice cream there. I never felt drugged up, but the rumors were pretty rampant. I walked across the street to the shop. Ben stood inside giving a group of kids milkshakes. He wore a white apron that covered a striped white shirt. He smiled and welcomed me in as he passed the milkshakes to the kids. I hadn't had ice cream in years due to strict police fitness guidelines. If Lewis caught any of us a pound over the weight limit, we would have never heard the end of it. The kids chatted amongst themselves about cartoons and how girls had cooties. I remembered when I was a kid and how we really believed that. I sat down at the bar and Ben smiled. His shit-eating grin always gave me the creeps. I ordered a strawberry shake. Figured I'd burn it all off before I got back to Drova. Ben smiled and started working on it. The kid sitting next to me sipped on his vanilla shake and smiled at me. "Try some. It's really good." Before he could finish, his face turned pale and he fell back off of the stool and vomited profusely. His entire body convulsed on the floor as Ben laughed hysterically. First came ice cream, and then blood spewed from his mouth. I dove to the ground and tried to help him. He convulsed in my arms and blood got all over my shirt. He went limp and faded away. I looked back up at Ben. "He wanted it extra spicy," Ben said, laughing. Another kid dropped to the floor, convulsing. His internal organs bled out as he fell limp. The once white and black checkered floor became crimson red. The others followed suit one by one. Ben smiled and slid the shake toward me. "Want some ice cream?" They all faded away as Ben laughed, holding his gut. The blood stains on the floor were dry, but remained in the same place. The shop was destroyed. Rubble laid along the floor, and the support beams hung from the ceiling. I searched around the shop, digging through all the wreckage, looking for clues. Upon entering the shop's managerial office, I found a symbol painted on the wall. A large red heart with an X through it. I wasn't sure if it was blood or paint, but it was still fresh. I sat at Ben's old desk and dug through the drawers looking for any evidence that he may have left behind. The drawers were all empty, except for one that was locked. I pulled at its lever, trying to break the seal, but it was no use. A screwdriver sat on top of the desk along with an old mallet. I lined up the tools and hit the screwdriver, bracing for the inevitable broken hand. The lock shot into the drawer and pulled open after some convincing. Inside laid a revolver and a stack of newspaper trimmings. The papers were about the history of the town, along with random occurrences. He left a notebook behind filled with old symbols that I couldn't read. It looked like the same language that Mike wrote. I flipped through the pages and found a note near the middle of the book. "The time has come for me to take my life. I have done my best to help these kids leave this world and go to our Lord Ravel. He is the master of all, and with his holy light, we shall be freed from this decay. We shall all bask in his light forever. I offer you these children and adults alike as a worthy sacrifice to you, my Lord. I have lined the ice cream with cyanide to hopefully make their deaths less painful. Regardless, I offer them as a sacrifice to you. Bring me to your holy light before it's too late. Ben Kramer." I heard the sound of footsteps come from outside. Someone in a black cloak ran away from the shop. I ran out the door and yelled, "Hey, wait!" But it was too late. Was that the Reaper?
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that. Now it's time to move on to probably your favorite segment of the show, which is my review of Are You Afraid of the Dark for this week. This week, we're going to be talking about the tale of dark music. And this is one I know that people have been probably waiting for quite a bit. And I know I was. And I honestly have a mixed history with this one. I really never saw it as a great episode until I watched it again recently. And it legitimately really was incredible to me. I love this one. Will it be better than The Captured Souls? We will see when we get to the end of this review, of course. So it opens with no music. Again, every week I tell you that. But they also start with something a lot darker than having no intro music, which is they bring up a divorce in the main character's backstory. It's kind of dark for a kid's show. R.L. Stine famously said that he would never bring up divorce in a Goosebumps episode, which is a different show entirely, of course, because he thought that that was too real, that that'd be too dark for kids, and I kind of agree. I think divorce isn't something you want to think about when you're watching Nickelodeon at night. But it's fine, a little tone deaf, but fine. So, this boy named Andy Carr and his mother inherit this house from his uncle that they apparently didn't really know that much about. And as they're moving in, Andy takes up a job as a paper boy. And while on his route, he runs into a guy that's dressed in all black and cowboy boots. It's kind of corny even for the 90s, but the guy tells him that he's his neighbor and he hated Andy's dead uncle. And if he runs into him again, he'll kill him, saying he'll kill Andy, not the uncle, because the uncle's dead, obviously. And honestly, the bully is giving me really, really thick, heavy Henry Bowers vibes. If you don't remember him, he was the bully from It that tried to kill the Losers Club, along with Belch and whatever the other guy's name was. I can't remember if he was even in the thing. What was it, Ben Hochstetter or something? I don't think they even credited him in the original miniseries, but they did bring up the fact that I think Ben and Henry were gay or something, like secretly gay in the book. I can't remember. That book was really, really rough with the kids having those sort of things going on. Anyway, safe for work show. So Andy goes in the basement and there's this beautiful shot that reminds me so much of the original 2 Halloween movies. It's like where they take a shot from the bottom of the stairs and they're looking up, and there's sort of like a shadow, which in Halloween it was Michael Myers, obviously, but it's this beautiful shot that's like taken directly from those movies. And he finds some tube radio down there and he plugs it in so he can have some music to do whatever he's doing. And the radio turns on, and it's like a little classic rock station, probably from the 70s or even the 60s. I don't really recognize the music at all, if it even is, actual music written outside of the show, that is. And there's a small wooden door that starts creaking and bumping around as the music plays until it reveals a pair of red eyes that say, "Hello, Andy, come on in." And Andy runs up the stairs screaming, and he breaks the radio. His mom comes down looking behind the door, and all she finds there is a little closet with a cobblestone wall, but no monster or anything behind the door. So we cut back to the bully scrubbing his porch stairs with a brush for some reason. I've never had to brush my stairs, but okay. Maybe that's just a thing. Maybe he's hit dog crap or something on it that a hose couldn't blow off. I don't know. Anyway, he's scrubbing the stairs, and his father comes up and yells at him, and I was like, yeah, that's Henry Bowers, isn't it? Because, abusive father, bully goes out there beating up a kid, saying, "I'll kill you," and all that stuff. We definitely have a Henry Bowers on our hands. And after that, Andy shows his Paperboy 2 skills by throwing a paper from his bike, hitting the bully's bucket, and then having it splash all over him. It was such a great shot, and just the look on the bully's face is priceless. The bully chases him back to his house, and he runs down into the cellar, locking the door behind him so he can't get out of the cellar unless he goes upstairs. Now, not really a nitpick, but having cellar doors like they do in this episode that are really close to the ground and almost like level with the ground, and they're also not solid. It's sort of like you can see through the doors itself. That really means that anytime it rains, the basement would flood. I'm not saying anything about realism, but I'm just saying that's really stupid house design. And if you have that, let me know how you deal with the flooding in your basement every time a storm passes through. So after snooping around in the basement again, Andy goes up the stairs, and it turns out that his dead uncle actually died in that basement at the door that keeps showing up. Ooh, scary. So Andy is told to go down to the basement and do some laundry, and while he's down there, he plays some generic blues music, probably thinking that rock music is what wakes up the demon, but nah. Even with the music that sounds like it's the stuff you'd hear on hold when you're calling your light company, yeah, it still makes the monster come out. So a life-size China doll comes out of the creepy door and hypnotizes Andy, saying that she wants to play with him, which is honestly terrifying when you look at it. I'm not really scared of the dolls or the clowns or anything like that, but if I had a 6-foot doll coming here saying, "Come play with me," that came out of some spooky cellar door, I'd probably be terrified too. So good on you, Are You Afraid of the Dark? You actually got something that scared me for once. Andy's mom, who's been a terrible actress so far, but she is so hot. Oh my God. Like, she is hot in like a Canadian plain Jane, like not even trying to be hot way. She's just hot in general. So like Pam from The Office hot. Anyway, she asks what he's doing down there, and it's really happy, creepy tone like, "What are you doing down there? I'm gonna scare you." It's like this really weird, just creepy, just, "Why are you talking like that, Ma?" Sort of voice. And then she shuts off the power to the basement, and for plot reasons, the doll flies back into the scary door and the door slams. So I'm guessing when the radio is on, the monster can come out, but when the radio is off, he can't. So maybe just don't play music in the basement anymore. You'll be fine. I guess the monster will just starve to death or whatever he does. So next day comes, and the paper route is done. His mom needs him to go downstairs and wash some tarps for some reason, cloth tarps. Maybe I misheard her because, every tarp I've seen was plastic and you don't really throw that in a washing machine, but maybe I'm wrong. So we go through another Hitchcock transition zoom where it zooms into the tarps and then zooms out into the basement, and I love those so much. They are a callback, if you don't remember, to Hitchcock's movie called Rope, where he kept zooming into people's shoulders or into the table and keeping that shot there long enough to change the film out of the camera and then basically make the entire movie one continuous shot. So I really love that. So he goes downstairs and he has another radio down there. Oh, good. With a cassette in it this time because he hasn't learned his lesson yet. And the radio starts playing his music and starts playing circus music. And this has to be a Pennywise reference coming up because the door opens and a carny is in front of a green screen telling the kid to step right up. We got rides and cotton candy and all this other Pennywise, come here, Georgie, sort of stuff going on. And I really thought it would be kind of insulting to rip off it in this, but it's such a good callback that it didn't bother me. So he runs out of the basement to tell him that the music is what brings out the monsters. The bully stops him on his bike as he runs outside and throws his bike in front of a dump truck, destroying it, and then he beats up Andy. Andy lures him down to the cellar and locks him inside and turns the music box on really, really loud. Way louder than that radio could probably actually play. But he accidentally leaves it on for too long and the ghost monster, Pennywise, doll, whatever the thing is, behind that door ends up killing the bully. He goes downstairs, the bully is gone, and there's a new bike waiting for him. So we're getting into the Little Shop of Horrors territory. The Pennywise monster tells him that he'll give Andy anything he wants as long as he feeds him more humans. He hears his sister upstairs calling for dinner, being annoying again, and we cut to Andy smiling with two black eyes. We cut back to the Midnight Society where the rich kid says that Andy didn't kill her, and he probably should have left that unsaid because it would make the story a lot darker if he did, and I think that would have made this episode just a little bit better. Final rating. So we had the Captured Souls at I think a 10, and the final rating for this, an 8 out of 10. I loved it. I loved every second of it. I loved every shot of this thing, but not as much as the Captured Souls, but it's really close. The only thing keeping this back from being a 10 is that the Captured Souls is a story that I would have actually written, and it had such a deep, complex, haunting story that the characters were more fleshed out and more real, and it really fit more into my style of horror and the way I write horror. So this is one that's nearly perfect, but if the characters were just a little bit deeper and the monster had a little bit more motivation, some type of sad backstory like they had in the Captured Souls, it would be up there. But the main problem boils down to the bully is weak, the other characters aren't convincing. It doesn't have as much atmosphere as the Captured Souls, but it does make up for it with the scares. I honestly love this episode. It's an 8 out of 10, which is solid. I would even say a 9 if the mom and the bully were better actors. It really is probably the first actually scary Are You Afraid of the Dark episode. Besides the Lonely Ghost where they had like one shot of the girl coming out of the mirror, which that's another one that I probably should adjust and give that one an 8, honestly. But you know why I don't like that episode. They would have got rid of one character, it would have been a 9. That one character dropped it to like a 5 or a 6, whatever I gave it. But anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share a link with one of your friends or on your social media. I really do appreciate you spreading the word about this show. And I will see you next week. Sweet dreams, everyone.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like to follow us, go to terrortracks.com/follow. Also, please check out our Patreon where you can get cool merch, writing lessons, and other awesome rewards starting at $5 a month at patreon.com/terrortracks. See you next week. Goodbye for now.